more towards, again, like right away. I'm hoping we see Oplon ban away the Viego. It's looking like they won't, even though we were kind of highlighting it. Yike is 4-0 on the champ, hasn't lost a single game on it so far. The dude is lights out, and we'll see if that's something they want to first pick here, especially when you consider Jinx is not on the table anymore as it is. But Thresh wasn't banned away, so instead they're going to grab that for themselves.
Exactly. So I'm looking at right away, just big power pick considering Jinx is gone, Thresh Aphelios, right? That has to be the natural progression. Now, of course, Oplon could look to actually deny them from that and maybe pick up the Aphelios for themselves. There's no way they actually picked that Shaco, but I was gonna say just the hover up from Darlic for the Scion is actually quite optimistic considering he's a big Scion player. But they look to just match on the support pick instead and take away the Viego.
That's surprising. I actually didn't expect them to go for this. Instead, I was thinking they'd take it away and put Brunez on something different here. And I mean, taking the Thresh means you do lose that Thresh Jarvan combo of Red 1 and 2 that's really popular. So instead, they're just gonna end up playing the Viego for themselves here. We usually see Brunez on things more like the Lee Sin, the Xin. So now on this more scaling pick, Oplon seeming like they do want to index a bit into the later parts of the game. And speaking of Yike, he is 4-0 on the Viego, but one of his other wins is on Xin. He is also really strong on this jungle.
Exactly, and I believe the only time that he plays Xin was week number 1, right, against the win against Solar 2. It's been Viego all the way through. As we see, like we were saying before, the Aphelios locked in, so Aphelios Thresh, disgustingly good combination, and likely to be matched by the Jhin on the bottom side, the classic trade we see between the two ADCs in the LFL.
And it's good, too, because I think Tiger's played pretty fine on the pick. And it's one of the safer ones where, okay, we don't have to put all the resources into there. It is more about setup. It is a little less about the hard carry for the most part here, which is kind of, a little different than the Aphelios we're seeing on the other end. And in doing so, though, you got to see what else is going to come up on the top side of the map for Oplon here, mid and top. Probably Victor is still on the table here. Probably something they're going to look to pick here for themselves and just save that counter pick for the top lane there for Darlic.
Yeah, exactly, because we've seen, though, although Darlic has looked quite good on the top side, too, but up against Ragnar, if we're going for carry v carry matchup, I find Ragnar just has a slight edge. We've seen on picks like the Akali, which was banned away, too, but his carry potential is phenomenal, too, so I should expect at least one more mid lane ban from the side of Team Oplon, like you were mentioning, that Victor, the GP, as well, the option, we saw this from Ragnar as well before, and that global pressure can be really nice.
Ragnar has deep pockets. He's played so many different champs the last couple of weeks here so far. So you got to make sure you just get rid of the super powerful ones, like you said, the Akali, the Gangplank, and stuff like that. But he still has options he could potentially go for. The Ornn being taken out is definitely an interesting one. It is a strong pick at the moment in the top lane. I wonder if we'll see Ragnar go back to the Kennen, which I think he only really played in week 1. It is really good overall, I think, for teamfight setup. And when Ornn is out of the picture, I feel like it is probably one of the better ones for just starting off fights with that slicing maelstrom.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, like you're saying, just for those 5v5s. And as we see the Azir locked in, where there's Azir, there's a Corki, but since the Corki is banned, I would be interested to see what they try to counter that with. Please don't pick Yuumi. I know you're not going to do that, because I'm tired of seeing this cat in my game. Instead, I believe they look to lock down just the Gragas, which is a safe top lane pick. Never mind, that'll be the Victor instead, and there's a Gragas being picked up top side for Ragnar, and is good into every single tank matchup as well. Gives you good front line and solid disengage.
Just watching the Malphite hover, it could come through.
He's done it every time.
I know, but maybe this time it could work. That's the thing. Maybe this time he's going to be able to lock it in. You got Aphelios, you have Victor, very immobile carries. There's something there, but okay. The point is, overall, the Victor and the Aphelios makes a lot of sense. Eka has been really good overall, especially on this Victor pick, and you do match with that late game damage, although you do have a little more burst here. The thing with Azir is that I don't know. The opinion of him is very divisive. Like among the community, whether or not it's actually a really strong pick. You do have team fight potential when you think about that Emperor's Divide. You do scale and do a lot of damage later on in the game. So I think if you can set up front to back here, you do have Absolute on this Nautilus.
Yeah.
You do have Darlic on this Renekton. You should be able to give Peng that space to be able to do that damage later on into the game. And Peng is always a player we've been highlighting when we watch Team Oplon, saying, this guy's young, seems to have a lot of potential, has performed pretty well in the games, even though Oplon haven't managed to win a single one. So maybe now this time, the team having this way to kind of set him up, maybe this is their way to get win number 1.
Exactly, and considering just the average game time, which I believe we were looking at before as well, especially for Team Oplon too, is right around 32 minutes, right? So even if we're at that mark between both of these teams. LDLC, like you mentioned, are very good at playing the macro and even playing from behind if they do manage to land there. But Team Oplon as well, hitting that 30-minute mark is going to be crucial for themselves. So they have to make sure of two things. Number one, paying his resources. Two, Darlic isn't just shut down the lane as a Renekton, because then he becomes a meat shield for possibly the rest of your front line. But there was one really crucial word that you said before beatdown. That was setup. Right? You need setup for the Azir too, and right now from Team Oplon, I'm seeing that realistically only on the Nautilus. Gentlemen, here we are. First game of the day as we are in Nice yet again to see these rookies and experienced players play on live. And I only have to imagine that some of their hands must be shaking, bro. That's why they got to get them hand warmers, right? To make sure you're all nice and toasty.
Yeah, I've been to a couple lands in like various places. It gets cold, especially up on stage, so it's not that surprising. Then overall, I mean, the pressure is definitely a big thing as well. A lot of young players coming into the league this year. This is something to be watching out for, just to see how they're actually going to perform. I mean, Austin talked about it while on the desk here. So we're going to get, today is going to be like the first day of that look to see who's actually going to perform here. Maybe some of the things we know about these teams so far could very well be a little bit inflated with the whole playing at home deal.
Exactly, yeah. I think when you are, as a player, able to get past your nerves on in front of a live audience, right, it can, of course, be nerve-wracking too, but one thing that I've heard across the board with these esports in general, it's finding a flow state. As we see just the absolute cutest bear for Ragnar.
Oh, I wonder where he is.
I love that. That's so awesome. He's just chilling. Yeah, I guess maybe Ragnar could not be there to be able to go and suffice for the land. But for now, let's focus our attention at what we see in front of us for the screen as you see junglers starting off on opposite sides.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Darlic does have that lane push. It is a lane you probably want to play through in the early levels just because of how, well, I mean, how Renekton is this kind of lane bully champion where you do want to be at least trying to get him ahead so he can be more aggressive when it comes to these team fights later on. You have a Renekton who's fed, gets a couple kills, gets a really strong CS lead early on. He can serve really well as a front line and even serve to the point where he can kind of force people back once he just things like pop that dominance here. So overall, though, I mean, Brunez, he is spotted on board, and playing the Viego, he's more than likely going to just go for a full clear, walk into the river and see if there's an opening, but it's not likely he's actually going to force something on this first clear.
No, not as right now, right? Because I find half the junglers in the LFL that we've seen either decide to just play it safe, usually just full clear, or other half will decide to just pick up a little bit more early momentum and see what plays they can make. Of course, that actually does depend on whether or not you're playing Lee Sin or not, which has been the overall, I would say, pattern that we've seen between these teams. But yeah, Yek looking to go for the just made full clear as well, and so is Brunez. So no real early action. But considering the wave actually bot side is going to bounce into words, exit kick as well. So I imagine, we might see Yike pay a little attention down there after he goes for his first back. But Brunez is already topside. They're going to trade for crabs. And yeah, should be fine. Just small little vision set.
And now, I mean, Yike is here.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it's he goes in a stand, tries to go for the crab, and it's an easy first blood from there. And considering Brunez had actually walked away, so he's looking to make a play down mid, but the wave is pushed in for Peng, and he can't gank Ica.
Yeah, there's probably not an angle there. Brunez is just going to go ahead and go for the recall. But really nice early play from LDLC. Light and good lane gank coming through from Yike. And you can see it. Doss is just walking up being like, hey, absolute. This dredge line's looking real juicy, isn't it? I'm in this bush. Watch him. He's going to walk out and in, be like, oh, okay. He actually throws out the death sentence and autos him, be like, oh, man, isn't that terrible? I missed my death sentence. But it was really absolute death sentence.
Yeah, it really was, too. Yeah. It's just the old bait and switch, right? It's like, oh, no, I have no CC. Whatever will I do? Psych, I have an E. Immediate flay. Everfrost. Right from there, right? Just the Glacial Augment and an easy setup on the back of it, too. One note that I definitely going to touch on as well, Gragas is one of the few tanks which does play really well into Renekton, right? He can trade decently evenly too, especially if you prioritize going more so for the AP side. As they find one Brunez locked down, taking a little bit of damage, and then that should be the second for Yike, but they'll give that over to Ike.
Yeah, nice. Really nice move overall from Doss to be able to find that angle here, and giving the kill to Ike is really nice, just because of course he's going to do a lot of damage later on, and him being part of this skirmish means he is closer to that first Hex Core upgrade, which will allow him to just continue getting the push here onto Peng. You can see how he's just zoning the mid laner of Oplon. He's taking these oh my god.
If he had 6 there,
If he had
Peng
6.
dies. A red buff OP, man. That was
Pretty good.
So clean. He played that without absolute any fear at all. And considering Peng had actually lost his comment in the middle of the fight too, so he couldn't actually trade evenly at all with that. So Ica, absolute Chad in the mid lane, focusing, just pulling Peng off his wave and denying him a fair amount of CS too. So Peng will not be back in time for this wave. He loses like a wave and a half off this.
No, I mean, he's going to lose just the 2 melee minions, but he's going to walk back in time because the cannon has a lot of health and stuff like that. But ultimately, forcing him back, he is losing a bit of XP, but hold on that.
Yeah, I believe, Ragnar actually already put out the explosive cast, but might not necessarily need it because Darlik's far too in lane in the bush. Will not hide him forever. Yike sees him there.
Yike is unreal so far in this early game. This is the meta we're in. It's this jungle meta where you have to do your best to enable your laners, and Yike has just been all over the board right now. He's shown bot, he's shown in the mid around his raptors, and now he is in the top lane as well here. Darlik on this Renekton, who really doesn't want to get set behind, is already struggling at the moment here. Everything going LDLC's way, almost a 2k gold lead. We aren't even at 7 minutes yet.
And we were talking about this before as well as he got out of draft, right? We're looking a lot at these junglers, especially on picks like Xin Zhao, to control the early picking of the game. And the role that Yike has actually taken has been to do exactly that. He's been one of the main voices in the team for LDLC to really call out what plays he wants to make. Now, although, you could say he does play a lot for his laners too, but the fact that he's roamed around so much, although he's only about 1 camp behind, the fact that he's managed to make this much of a difference really does speak to his ability as a jungler and his ability to also track where Brunas is going to.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Brunas hasn't been able to do a whole lot, really. Just died on the invade. You can see him. He is looking for the potential to steal camps, but another fight.
Yes, it doesn't actually land here. Doss takes a lot of damage
fine.
and Apsa looks for the trade, but
You're
will become lightning. There's a second Tiger. They can't follow up on the tower as a flash, and he will go up. Both sums blown, but Tiger wants to look for retribution. He wants to get Doss, but Execute will play bodyguard.
Yeah, not a whole lot to really do about that one. Exekick's still going to be able to shove this wave in. Yike is still going to go for the invade. Actually, there is a dive angle. No summoners on this Jhin.
Not at all. You don't necessarily even need it to. And Doss just walks up to get the lantern to get him out. Can't land a single auto. Tiger knew he was done for. Pain.
Yeah, I mean, that's a dive Mr. Clean would be proud of. There's just nothing, nothing goes wrong. You use the lantern to get out, and all Oplon can do is slink their way to the top side here to see if they can maybe take this Rift Herald. It will be nice. It's a way they can get some gold back into their pockets here, potentially, especially if you want to drop that in the mid lane, because Peng, even though he has been not having the greatest time in this matchup, I still think ultimately he is who you're going to be leaning towards into the later parts of the game. Anyway, we talked about it in draft. Tiger falling behind is really unfortunate, but ultimately, like, he is playing Jhin. It is about more the setup with things like the Deadly Flourish, the ultimate, and hopefully Peng will be able to get some of these resources so they can really unlock him.
I love how much Ragnar's is BMing against Darlik.
He's feeling it.
It's just consistent emotes and spam in the middle. He stays in the middle of the lane. You can just tell the LDLC guys right now are oozing confidence right now on the stage. They feel very confident about the matchup too. But like you were mentioning, right, Peng has not been able to get a ton of resources considering how the early trade actually went for Ica as well. And with him getting that red buff too, that does mess up the wave state for him a lot. So he has to kind of take awkward backs. So I'm looking at Brunas to try to just come in and relieve a little bit of pressure off of him. Speaking of pressure, the Ragnar might be in some a little bit. He doesn't have the explosive cask, and the flash will be blown.
So there you go. Darlik is getting the better of Ragnar in this exchange, which has got to be good. It allows him to shove the wave, but ultimately, still LDLC winning out a lot across the map here. They pick up the first dragon, they get these camps on the bottom side, and you can see Brunas just has to kind of watch it happen. I think he's actually on the outside, in lane, knows that Yike has moved his way in here, and just has to go back and see, okay, did he leave any of my camps?
None, that's so much pain, man. But
wait a
instead,
minute.
he won't necessarily need it. Camp as he decides to take a 3v3, but the Moonlight Vigil lands on the 3. They're all chunked down to about a quarter of their health is removed, and they decide to have removed themselves from the lane.
Yeah, that was an ambitious dredge line coming through from Absolute.
Yeah.
You saw the Lancer go out, so I'm not really sure. He's thinking, oh, I got him, guys. I got him. And then he realized, wait, nope. Got to flash away. Ultimately, it doesn't cost them too much for the play. The death sentence doesn't land, so LDLC don't pick up any more kills. But, man, they are running the game right now. They're up 3,000 gold. Oplon, so far, haven't been able to do very much. No towers, no kills, nothing.
Unfortunate casted. If that lands just a little bit forward, that would have been likely a solo kill for Ragnar. Too early on to level 9 with a Gragas as well, with almost not a single completed item against a Renekton. You gotta be feeling really good about yourself, and he allows you to get the bag off too. I could see he was thinking like, no, do I stop this? Do I actually interrupt him? But no, he decides to let him move back. There's no TP up either, so Ragnar will instead decide to just let the wave crash into the tower and get the back for himself. Should be able to get just half of his first mythic as well. Across the board right now, though, LDLC are absolutely running the map, and there's the Kemp tank.
The thing that's rough about the top lane matchup, too, is that they picked the Renekton after. They saw the Gragas, and they're like, all right, give me the Renekton. I can do this. And so far, it just hasn't been panning out, and it's going to be tough for Darlic later on, too, even once he finishes the Gore Drinker, to be able to have a lot of impact in these fights. He's going to have to find a way to isolate people like Aka, like Exakick. I mean, we talk about it all the time with champs like Renekton because the CC is good, and he does have a lot of health boost with that Dominus. Maybe if you get him some kind of flank ward angle that he can TP towards past the 14-minute mark when those TPs get unleashed, then he could still be able to find some value in these team fights. But for the moment, not a whole lot to go for here as Oplon dropped the Herald.
Yeah, as they managed to pick that up after the first Dragon take, so this just gives away 2 plates over to Pang, which is a nice little goal boost. We were looking at him to get as many resources as he most possibly could, and he's been doing a pretty good job of farming. He's only about 12 CS down in the lane too, so not bad at all within this victory matchup. But Runas yet again, right, is just being relegated back towards trying to farm his camps, and looking at his laners just get camped over and over again. He hasn't been able to make any proactive plays. It's been sort of reactive, trying to just respond across the entire map as Yike looks to push in Darlic, and there we go. Half his health is gone, and they'll be able to take at least another plate off this top tower, but won't be able to kill it as DOS finds the hook on Brunus, and Brunus is just dead. And said, oh, okay, he goes over the wall. Heartbreaker, Moonlight Vigil does not land.
Man, that's twice now. Brunez gets caught on the invade too. That's really good awareness from LDLC. Every time you see a Yike show on the other side of the map, DOS, and this time Exakick as well, move through the jungle and be like, hey, Brunez might come to steal a little bit of camps because Yike is showing, try to punish him if he can, but ultimately he gets punished himself. And now Brunez, he walks away, but it costs his ult, his flash, and he has a minor CS lead. But look at Yike, who's 4-0, been part of almost every kill that's happened.
Yeah, and we've seen as well too, if you look at the stats so far, the Yike has had such a big kill percentage in terms of the distribution of the team on LDLC. I want to say at least about 83% of most of the kills that happen on LDLC are he is a part of, right? So you can see just how active he is as a jungler, and we mentioned before, the fact that he hasn't not fallen behind back in farm is a testament to himself. Absolute moves up. Wow. Yike is here. We were saying this man is everywhere, bro. He's top. He's mid. He's in my house. He's under my basement. He's in my kitchen, beat up.
And what are you supposed to do at this point, Darlic? They understand that this was a possible play on the side of Oplon. You can see them move through, but they're just a little too slow. And now all they're going to do is try and see if they can make this play, get this kill.
I mean, the Ignite is taking him, but then immediate Lantern from DOS to save one of his laners yet again. Really well played, Rome.
Man, this is tough. Oplon in the blender at the moment here. Again, Brunez losing camps. It is a hard life right now in this match.
I believe one of our friends calls it just being in the spin cycle or being in spin.
Yeah, spin cycle. Does Austin say that?
No. Paul says that.
Paul says that. Yeah, that's right. They're in the spin cycle.
Yeah, it's and every single time you see you see these things happening over and over again. It's like, oh look, we're being put in for a new load. That's it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Shout out to Paul.
Shout out to Paul one time, man. They're doing this thing, just showing us like right now, Oplon are sadly they've been in the washing machine for quite a bit. You would think they've been cleaned by now, but sadly, LDLC, every single other team just keeps putting them back, you know? These whites are not white enough yet. These towels need to be washed a little bit longer. As they make a play for Herald,
Nope.
gets denied. It is a 3v3, but they know it's simply not strong enough as XKit gets away with nothing. Just 0 health.
Yeah,
50 health.
It looks like Tiger almost won out in that 1v1. I mean, you do force him out. He's going to lose some minions for it, which is cool. And actually, to Tiger's credit, oh, hold on a sec.
Yeah, I mean, we see
Teleport.
Josh takes a ton of damage, but it's not going to be enough.
My.
They're just so far behind. They get stuck in the gravity field. And, yeah, Eric, a lot of damage with the Leandries. Take them down. 1, 2, 3, bye-bye.
That's tough, too, because like we saw the perfect example of that teleport ward that I was kind of hoping for Darlic to be able to TP to. But by the time he got there, his team was done.
Yeah.
His dominance just came off of cooldown, too. It would have been perfect for Oplon. But it doesn't end up panning out, and instead, LDLC, they're going to get the second Herald for themselves. Very likely just going to be able to drop that in the mid lane here and just continue to accelerate this game.
Yeah, because from there, too, they can easily go down bot side to make a play for the next dragon. They already have the second one, so dragon second can now begin. I find it's a pretty late second dragon, too, considering it's at about 15 minutes, right? So I find they're not necessarily overextending anything that they can't necessarily do, but vision setup is there. But first, Yike will look to take away, well, so I should say take more of his camps. But Brunis is there first. He spots a couple of wards and also gets the crab, so he has vision early, so he'll know if it's being taken. The question is, can he stop it?
Doesn't look like. No one's actually going to go for this dragon here. LDLC, I mean, even though things have slowed down, we just look at what's been going on so far. LDLC 8-0, up 5k gold. Just all in the right places, too, when you think about Aka on this Victor, who's doing so much damage, who's going to continue to do so much damage once he finishes what I'm guessing is probably going to be a Shadow Flame.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be another dragon here for LDLC. Oplon now, they've retreated to the top side of the map here, and you can see where they're pretty much everybody on the team is there. They do have objective bounties available, so it's looking like they just want to overcommit to one side, take that top lane turret, force Ragnar away, and pick up that bonus gold that they're all going to get.
There are 3 people here. Ragnar as well has the TP, no flash, but has his ultimate, but it's simply just not enough to be able to deny that. Uses his ult, and now comes reinforcement from Ica. A good stopwatch on the Absolute to stay alive, but instead we see Darlic gets pulled in. Here with the first strike, Drox takes a lot of damage, but here comes Peng. Look at Peng on the backside, looking for the Emperor's Divide.
Okay.
One gets pushed in, has to put out the flash, but a lot of DPS. The soldier taking him down, and the resets from Brunes. Oplon find their fight and a tower.
Yeah, admittedly, it's an overcommitment from LDLC by far, but still, the punish is through from Oplon. They gain a nice chunk of shutdowns in their pocket, and they've reduced this gold lead by about 2,000 gold. They're still down 3k. Being able to get some of this extra gold, especially on people like Peng, on Brunes, is definitely a big deal, even if it did cost you that bottom tier 1 turret.
And I guess from that, it is quite nice for them to get some solvency back into this game. And like you're mentioning, if we just look at it, there's absolutely nobody here. There's 4 people going down bot, and I find, considering even just how far they are, Ragnar realistically should have just gave this up and walked away, and everything would have been fine. But he decides he wants to get at least 1 kill out of it.
Right, and they were hoping they could try and make something happen here. They were really strong. They know they are way ahead of Oplon, so this is limit testing, it looks like. And Peng, of course, coming over the wall with that Emperor's Divide is definitely very helpful, allowing him to pick up some kills, Brunes to pick up some kills, and Peng getting that shutdown I think is still a big deal, because he's going to be the one dealing all the damage here for Oplon, if they can actually manage to get a good team fight in. So he's now 2-0. He's honestly not very far behind in CS. We're looking at, what, 12, 13 creeps. It's honestly not that big of a deal.
Yep.
So once he gets to 2 items, depending on what he's going to build, he'll still be in an opportunity to be able to make some plays here. I just fear that there's going to be a little more pressure on him just because of the state Oplon enter in this game, especially if he's not building things like a stopwatch, a Zonia's. Is he going to go in for a big slide into an Emperor's Divide?
Yeah, because right now it looks like he's building Shadow Flame, which makes sense because of all the shielding that's on LDLC. So he should be able to put out a ton of damage. But like you mentioned, previously in that fight, he did have to come around just the other side for the flank right outside past Gromp. So he can get spotted there too, and the Emperor's Divide was quite nice as it forced out Aka's flash. But from there, he will have to be frontlining a fair amount of the initial DPS if he wants to get involved in the 5v5s. It's a 3v3 for now. Darlic goes in, and Absolute is immediately popped. No stopwatch this time as Peng go on the backside. No shuffle to be had. Is that he's the one who has to flash out. Ike goes in. Blast Cone will save the Emperor's life.
Yeah, that one was tough. Peng did have to flash away, and unfortunately, he tried to make that play, but Exakick ends up dodging it out with his own flash here. And in this, what was a 4v5 scenario, LDLC managed to come out on top, and they're just heaping on the pressure. The gold leads back up to 5K. It's going to keep going higher. They're at a point where they can just recall, spend that gold. They can start Baron if they want to. They're at a point where if they really commit as 5, they could do whatever they want on the map.
Ike is dead. I could get spotted in the ward. Yeah, but he's one more. Gets the Lancer now. Okay, but luckily Brunos actually flashes for that. Gets the Reese. I was about to say,
imagine
if he gets away again, bro. That would have been crazy. And DOS will be the next target.
I mean, you get into a point where Oplon, they're going to have to try and make something happen here. You see that Ragnar shows on the bottom side of the map. You should know he doesn't have TP. Do you make a play for the Baron because you took out the mid in support of LDLC? I mean, you see the pings coming through. They want to shove this top wave. Maybe they make a play for the Baron, but it's looking like they're running out of time there. They don't even move up to put much vision in.
Tiger's, there we go. He gets caught, pushed back, and he knows he can do nothing to contest against this. He showed mid. He's a bit too far up in lane, and Ragnar and Yek find the angle. From here, they can immediately make a play for Baron, but Brunes and Absolute are on their way.
Man, yeah, that one is tough. All Peng really gets to do is shove that top wave. I think he's taking the Grump, too, from Yike's jungle, but ultimately, not a whole lot coming out of the kills that Oplon managed to find. They're going to have to force something really soon, because at this rate, LDLC, they're just going to bulldoze them into a win here, Robin. And now they don't have any vision still because they didn't push that vision line into the topside river in the jungle. Now they don't know who's actually on the Baron.
Yeah, and I find that has been one of the main issues we've seen out of Oplon, right? Although they get some nice fights in the middle, they get a couple of picks on their main carries, but from there they get nothing across the entire map. Although they managed to get 2 towers, but the fights so far have resulted only one of those towers to the other side, and the other one was simply just because of the pressure they previously had bot side. So that does work out well for themselves. But from here, Dragon Control ultimately in LDLC's favor at that sole point as all of Oplon are topside.
The information might be there. They don't know what he is around the Baron. What are Oplon going to do about it is the question here. I mean, the question mark pings come through. Most of them are there, but no commitment still to this Baron. Oplon, they just keep losing and losing out on the map here and aren't able to trade very much for it. They do set up a lot of vision in their favor, but ultimately it's not going to amount to very much because when it comes to LDLC, they're just going to come back on the map, get mid-prio, and immediately move up to clear out all the vision here. So it's not going to end up amounting to very much unless Oplon tried to actually make a play for that Baron.
Yeah, because you saw there was a small window where we could have seen a Peng alongside Brutus and Darlic actually start the Baron, right? And it would have been a decently fast Baron, considering Tiger was also there, and Peng does put out a fair amount of damage alongside Brutus, so they could have fought for it if they wanted to, but LDLC is a bit too far ahead, and all the team fighting tools, I find, just swayed them away. And for now, like you mentioned, their beatdown, the map is dark for Oplon. They have one ward, which is just the crab topside, and that is it. But one more in the top side behind Baron, but now that's it.
And now LDLC, they know Oplon knows the Baron is being started because of course the Scuttle Crab, as you mentioned, is in their favor. But ultimately, LDLC, they're just waiting for a bush play. At this point, they're just gonna walk out and be like, okay, well, you can't do anything about us pushing this wave up. So that's exactly what they're going to do here. And man, like, this is tough. Oplon, not very many options left to them here. They're basically depending on another catch-out like the 2 we saw before. LDLC playing a little disrespectfully, and that's something Oplon can look to punish, but not just punish. They have to turn that into more.
As they look to do more right now, Absolute goes in, looks a lockdown exit kick, but he's by himself. Nobody else can follow up. Instead, Ragnar is just zoning 3 people by himself. It's just 1v1s across 3 different ends. Jake is up against Brutus. Tiger has to run away. They throw down the barrel as they give him a little bit of an escape. But Tiger instead will likely die. But on the backside, exit kick gets soloed by Darlic too. So they get 1 out of it.
Right, I mean, that was not a good fight. Really broken up for Oplon overall. Absolute looking like a Hail Mary, seeing if he can try and set something up here. Threw a lot of CC into Exakick to his credit, and wasn't able to end up doing much about it. It was Darlik at the end of the fight who ends up taking him down, and this isn't enough for Oplon to do something with. I mean, they don't have their jungler, they don't have their AD carry. All they can really do now is walk back, try and push out this top lane, and then just wait until the rest of their team respawns here. Like, we're at 2 minutes away from Mountain Soul. That's the nail in the coffin here if LDLC managed to get that for themselves.
Yes, sir. Now, to be fair, though, LDLC were not able to capitalize much off of Oplon's fight there either, although they only lost one person. But the waves ultimately were in Oplon's favor, so they had to go back, reset mid, top, and bot. Top still a little bit within Oplon's favor, but should be at a pretty even state right around the middle part near River. So if you could potentially see Darlik going there to try to push that in, that would be a nice pressure point that they could potentially have for this setup against Baron. Because like you were mentioning, 1 minute and 40 until Dragon. So Oplon needs to find some sort of trade across the map if they're not planning on fighting for this.
I don't know if there is really a trade that they can make here. That's the problem, because we're still a minute 30 from this Dragon, and the Baron definitely can't go LDLC's way if Oplon wants a chance at winning this game.
Yeah.
So right now, you have Peng, who's pushing this wave. He does have TP, that's why they have him on the bottom side of the map, and it's just going to be now a question of, can they actually get the fight they're looking for? Okay, Death Sentence barely misses, but you can tell they're looking now, LDLC. They know Baron is the play. They know Oplon want to do something about it. That's why they commit forward to pushing mid, but they, as soon as an equal, even lesser number of people group up from LDLC, Oplon respect and have to back away.
Ragnar actually does find Peng bot side too, so he forces them to already back away, as well as, like you were mentioning, 4 people mid, looking to be 5 as finally Darlik goes topside to respond to the wave. If he manages to catch up Peng on Vision, it could be nice, but instead, sorry, Ica on Vision, but instead Ica is looking to back, and Ragnar decides to just poke a little bit against Peng. Is he going to be able to solo him? He takes a fair bit of damage. The soldiers do a lot
of damage.
Yeah, he's caught in the backside. Bunus is here too. Can they get him out of this DOS? Yeah, no, they can't get there in time. Ragnar just disrespecting Peng's damage, but that's a 5v5 as they find Brunes.
That's 2 for Peng.
Does a lot of damage too for Peng. The ADC gone. LDLC cannot fight this, and they gotta run.
Well, you say that, but they are still playing a bit aggressively, keeping them at bay. But I think this is the push that Oplon needs to make here. They have board members. They can go for this Dragon, delay the Soul, and that's really big now. And I think that's the second time. Ragnar definitely gets caught out after feeling himself just a little bit with how ahead the team is overall. But right now, Yike is playing for the steal. The thing is, Oplon, okay, they want to pull out the Dragon. They're not backing away. Oh, here we go.
As he goes in, the lanterns out, he steals it!
No.
Yike is just way too good. That's the smite. Darlik might be in trouble up against Dosto, but the question is, he stopped watching
The teleport
for a couple more seconds, but it will not save him, though just that Domus runs out in time. There's a TP. Ragnar, brother, you are by yourself. Why are
He
you
doesn't
so
care.
far? Yeah, he does not care. Absolute's running away. Peng's not gonna help him. He's still chasing DOS on the backside. Tiger could look for the turn, but there we go. They find the hook. Click the lantern. There we go.
Man, this is limit testing to the extreme coming out from LDLC, but look at what all this pressure buys. The walk up to the Baron, not only will LDLC get one, they're going to get the other, and look at this, Ragnar still harassing them, still making sure that, hey, this is your side of the map here. You don't get to do anything about this Baron we're taking.
Yeah, he's holding them all air.
Hostage.
Oplon knows that, they have Baron on the other side. They can do nothing at all. The contestants simply have to watch the game slip away from their hands second by second, as here's that steal.
Man, this is brutal. They still have the numbers, but it's looking like they don't want to turn and fight here, and because of that, unfortunately, Smite just isn't there. And, I mean, it's painful. They didn't have Brunes to begin with, so of course, it was going to be a tough call for them, but they had to try and deny the Soul.
Yeah, and with Ragnar also TPing in as well, right? There was just look how long this goes on for. He is
Too long.
He is literally in enemy lines on Vision by himself, looking to solo Absolute. That hook landing was their saving grace, and he's 2v1ing as if he's literally full build.
I mean, he's pretty close, if we're being honest here. But at this point now, with picking up Baron, picking up Mountain Soul, LDLC are just looking to continue this stranglehold they have on Team Oplon. And at this point, it's just going to be about removing these towers. It's just going to be about taking that one last winning fight. We're at the 30-minute mark, so these spawn timers get pretty long.
Yep.
All LDLC really need to do is win one more team fight and then put this to bed.
Yeah, That's realistically it. As they look to pressure two of these lanes, the same sort of one for a setup we've seen as Yike and Doss look to balance it between mid and bot side. But a lot of attention from Oplon is still on the bot lane. If they can just deny this siege, this could be quite nice, but it's a double cannon wave. And so they have to choose what they want to lose first, and Ica will focus on the mid inhibitor. As the wave comes in, a nice shuffle to push two back. Yag looks to go out, immediately wind becomes lightning in a second. He is out of there. Pang dies, Darlic is low, and this is the final fight you were looking for here, B-Town. Immediate trigger, Pang knew he had to do something, but that something was not enough. Clean, cool, and surgical from LDLC as they take down Oplon.
And just like that, Oplon going down to their 7th loss. LDLC still keeping the fight going for first place in the league.